Welcome to Cheater Fallout. Let us get started with today's story. It started with silence. Our apartment was not built for it. The walls usually carried the hum of Christine moving around, or at least the buzz of her late-night television. But when I walked in that night, nothing. No door unlocking, no heels on the hardwood. I noticed three things right away. The hallway light was still burning from when she left, like a stage waiting for its actor. Her silk scarf, navy, the one she wore when she wanted to look sharp, was draped carelessly over the arm of a chair, and her pearl earrings were sitting in the freezer tray on top of the ice, as if cooling them off could erase where they had been. That told me she had come back at least for a few minutes. Christine always dropped things in odd places when she was restless. She must have stepped inside after dinner, paced the room, then gone out again. The door log confirmed it. She had swiped in close to midnight, stayed less than half an hour, and left without returning. Christine had told me that morning I might stop by Adrian's party tonight. He is launching that book, remember? She said it like it was nothing, just a polite gesture, a professional courtesy. But she knew exactly what she was doing. Adrian Cole was not just some author. He was her ex. The one she swore was ancient history. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I opened our toll app. A ping at 1:27 in the morning showed her car heading toward the waterfront hotels. No return log after that. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time, staring at those earrings resting on ice like evidence in a case file. I was not going to wait for explanations or excuses. I was not going to play the fool in my own home. So I wrote a note. 4 words, nothing more. I will not stay here. Then I packed a duffel, my laptop, a week's worth of clothes, and the important files from the desk drawer. No drama, no raised voice. By the time the sun pushed through the blinds, my side of the closet was empty. I had hauled everything down the stairs in 3 quiet trips. The duffel in one hand, boxes balanced in the other. I did not take it to a friend's place. I was not interested in explaining myself or inviting advice. Instead, I drove to a storage unit I had reserved online at 3 o'clock in the morning. I paid for 6 months up front, slid my belongings into the metal cube, and closed the lock. Clean final. From there, I headed to the suite. My coworker, Malcolm Voss, had tipped me off about a corporate rental on the edge of downtown. No questions asked. Month-to-month utilities folded into the bill. By 8, I had a key card in hand and a neutral room that did not smell like her perfume. The rest of the morning was pure housekeeping. I froze the joint credit card. I redirected my paycheck into a new account. I set up a post office box across town, and I sent an email to our landlord asking to be taken off the lease as soon as legally possible. My name was no longer tied to her address. It was nearly 10 when Christine finally came home. I watched it happen on the door app. Unlock at 10:02, door shut at 10:03. She had a paper bag in her hands when she walked in, probably coffee and croissants from the corner cafe. I pictured her dropping the bag on the counter, spotting my note, then opening the closet. I knew the stages. First confusion, then annoyance, then denial. Right on schedule, my phone buzzed. Brandon, what is this? 2 minutes later. You are being ridiculous. Call me back then. You think leaving your shoes somewhere else proves a point. Grow up. I did not answer. I did not need to. Every measure I had taken that morning made her words smaller. She still thought this was about making a point. She had no idea the game had already changed. By noon, my phone was buzzing non-stop. Christine's calls stacked on each other, one after another, like she was trying to drown me with noise. I let them all go. Silence was my answer. At 12:47, I got a different kind of message. This one was not from her. It came from Selena Ward, a woman I barely knew. She worked in Christine's office. The text had no greeting, just a screenshot. A rooftop bar, string lights overhead, and Christine leaning in close to Adrian. Too close to mistake for casual. I stared at it until the phone dimmed. That was the first outside confirmation. It was not paranoia. It was not just perfume and missing hours. She had gone to that party out of spite, and she wanted it to sting. By 1 o'clock, I had made a decision. I called Ezra Flynn, a courier I had used once for work. Reliable, no small talk. I need you to deliver an envelope to my building's doorman, I told him. Inside the envelope, a signed separation agreement I had printed weeks earlier but never thought I would use. A printout of the toll receipt from 1:27 in the morning and my spare keys. Evidence and closure in one neat package. At 1:34, I texted Christine, pick up your envelope from Hector. Hector Salas had been our doorman for years. He did not know what was inside, and he did not ask. The call came 2 minutes later. Christine's voice was boiling. "Are you kidding me? An envelope with Hector? What is this?" "Some kind of stunt," I answered once, calm, steady. "Read page 2. She went quiet for a beat, then hissed. "You think this makes you smart? You think you get to humiliate me?" I ended the call without another word. The envelope was not about humiliating her. It was about control. She thought she could choose when the lights came on and off in our lives. Not anymore. Christine did not sit quietly with the envelope. That was not her style. By the next morning, she had switched tactics. She showed up at the gym I used to go to, waiting by the lockers like it was a coincidence. "Brandon, you cannot be serious," she said, her arms folded across her chest. "Over one night. Over some party." I tied my shoes, did not look at her. "It was not just one night. You are blowing this up. You think you are punishing me, but you are embarrassing yourself." Her voice was tight low enough so others would not hear. I stood, met her eyes. "Embarrassment requires me to care what you think." Then I walked out. Later that afternoon, she tried again, this time at the coffee shop near my office. I was halfway through an Americano when she slid into the chair across from me, uninvited. "You will not wreck my life over a party," she said, leaning forward. Like she could bully me into believing her. I did not flinch. "Then maybe you should not have made it about that." Her smile thinned into something sharper. "If you want a war, Brandon, I can give you one. Your boss might want to know about your temper." That was the moment I knew she would go for reputation. Not just mine, but anyone's who stood between her and control. So I went first. That evening, I drafted an email to Lucinda Hale, my manager. Short, direct. I explained that I was in the middle of a separation, that things might get messy, and that I wanted her to hear it from me before any rumors reached her. I asked for 2 weeks of remote work. Lucinda replied within the hour. "Understood. Take care of what you need to. We will adjust on our end." It was exactly what I needed. Acknowledgement without entanglement. I changed the passwords on every shared account, locked her out of the calendar, and turned off location sharing. Christine thought showing up unannounced gave her leverage. All it did was prove I had been right to step out of reach. Rumors started trickling back within days. A couple we used to meet for dinner texted me out of nowhere. "We heard you just walked out." Man, if that is true, we are disappointed. No details, no questions. Just the seed she had planted was taking root. Then the real break came. My phone lit up with a message from a name I did not know, Jonas Keene. His text was simple. "You do not know me, but I was at Adrienne's launch. You should see this." Attached were 2 photos. In the first, Christine and Adrien stood by the balcony doors, her hand resting flat on his chest. In the second, his arm was around her waist, both of them smiling like they had not a care in the world. Then came the video, 10 seconds long, grainy but clear enough. It showed Christine and Adrien on the balcony. She leaned in, and they kissed. Not an accident, not a polite goodbye. A kiss that said comfort, history, and choice. Jonas added one more line. They left together. I figured you should know. I watched the clip 3 times, each one slower than the last. It did not gut me. It did not even shock me. It just stripped away the last layer of doubt I had been holding on to. I saved the files to a private legal folder I'd created, one Christine could not touch. I backed them up twice, external drive cloud account. I wanted them beyond her reach, somewhere permanent. That night, for the first time since the silence began, I slept. Not long, not deep, but real. The kind where your chest finally rises and falls without clenching. She had gone to her ex-party out of spite, and now I had the truth, in a form even she could not rewrite. Christine's next play came 2 mornings later. A voicemail, her voice smaller than I had ever heard it. "Brandon," I panicked. "Okay, I made a mistake. Can we just talk? Tell me what you want and I will fix it." I listened once, then again, not because I was swayed, but because I needed to be sure of what I heard. She was not sorry for what she had done. She was sorry I had not played the role she counted on, the man who always stayed. I opened my laptop and drafted one short reply. "From now on, communicate through counsel." That same day, I called an attorney, filed for divorce, and scheduled a supervised pickup for the last of my belongings. Victor Lowe, the estate manager at our building, agreed to oversee it. "Neutral ground," he said. "Clean and quick." That is what I wanted. Every thread tying me back to that apartment was cut one after the other. Christine's response was predictable. She sent 3 long emails in a row, each one more frantic than the last. "We can get past this if you just stop being dramatic. "You are throwing away years for nothing, Brandon. If you just meet me, you would see this is not the end." I did not reply. Not out of spite, out of discipline. Any answer would only feed her version of events. When Victor supervised my pickup, Christine was not even there. She left the apartment locked. Her absence was meant to sting. I loaded the last 2 boxes into my car and drove away without looking back. The separation was not emotional anymore. It was mechanical. Documents, signatures, dates. Step by step, the life she thought she controlled was slipping out of her hands, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. For the first time in years, I felt like the one holding the pen instead of being written over. 2 weeks later, I walked into the courthouse. No shouting matches, no drawn-out hearings. Just a signature, a stamp, and a handshake from a quiet notary who barely looked up. That was the end of our marriage on paper. Afterward, I drove straight to my new place, a 1-bedroom near the river, the kind of place Christine would have called temporary or beneath us. To me, it felt permanent in the right way. I set my keys on the counter, glanced around at the bare walls, and felt the calm hit me like air after a storm. Malcolm, my coworker, started dragging me on early morning runs along the river trail. At first, I hated the 6 o'clock in the morning alarm, but there was something about pounding the pavement with someone steady at your side that made me realize how much of my life had been eaten by her chaos. A week later, I mailed my old apartment keys back to the building office in a plain envelope. No note, no explanation, just a set of metal teeth that no longer had any claim on me. Not long after, I ran into a neighbor from that building. She mentioned almost casually, "Christine moved out last month, packed it all up in a hurry." I did not ask where she went. I did not need to know. That was the difference. For years, I had been trained to monitor her every move, to piece together silences and half-truths. Now her absence was not a puzzle to solve. It was freedom. One evening, a month after the courthouse, I opened the freezer to toss in a bag of ice, and for a moment I just stared. Empty trays, frost at the corners. Then the memory hit. Christine's pearl earrings sitting on ice like they belonged there. I almost laughed. Back then, it felt like a riddle I could not solve. Now it just felt ridiculous. I shut the freezer and hung my new keys on the hook I drilled into the wall by the door. I thought about that first night, the silence that stretched through the walls like a warning. It had made my stomach twist, made me feel like something was missing, like I was the one at fault for hearing it. Now, the silence was different. It was not her absence mocking me. It was not the weight of perfume in the air, or the missing hours of a toll receipt. I sat on the couch and let the quiet settle in. No buzzing phone. No accusations waiting to explode, just stillness. Christine had gone to her ex-party out of spite. She had gambled on me, folding the way I always had. But she had walked back into a world where I no longer lived. And that was the one thing she never saw coming. She was speechless because she had no script for this version of me. No counter for a man who did not argue, did not beg, did not stay. And that was the final shift. The silence was not a punishment anymore. It was not a question. It was an answer. Thank you for watching until the very end. Wishing you happiness, peace, and a wonderful day ahead.